Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off today. Let's start with a little bit of good news. It is Friday. This week will come to an end soon, but we begin with the global IT outages overnight that brought companies across multiple industries to a screeching halt. Experts say the outages are the most significant in recent history, affecting banks, government operating systems, even travel. Several airline companies were grounded for hours after the FAA shut down operations due to the outage. Planes were not allowed to take off until the issue was resolved. This was the site, look at this, at Macy's. This is just down the street from us here at 30 Rock. This is at Herald Square in Manhattan. Many Microsoft users saw a message similar to this when they went to use their laptops or their computers, including here at NBC News. We had this little blue sad face on multiple screens. Multiple broadcast stations were forced to go off air last night because of the widespread outages. It all stems from a major disruption by cybersecurity company CrowdStrike. Just moments ago, though, CEO George Kurtz joined NBC's Today to break down what happened. Take a listen.
We're deeply sorry for the impact that we've caused to customers, to travelers, to anyone affected by this, including our companies. So we know what the issue is. We're resolving and have resolved the issue now. It's recovering systems that are out there. And essentially, as you've talked about in the statement I put out, is the system was sent an update, and that update had a software bug in it and caused an issue with the Microsoft operating system. And we identified this very quickly and remediated the issue. And as systems come back online, as they're rebooted, they're coming up and they're working.
That does not mean that things are not still a little messy out there. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton joins us for more on this breaking news. She is at Newark International Airport. Antonia, good morning. So, look, here at NBC, I'm using this computer. This is not normal. Normally, I've got a computer right here on the desk, which still has that blue sad face. So, obviously, even as things are coming back online, we are still experiencing these difficulties. One of those places is at airports. Walk us through right now what we know about this outage. The CrowdStrike CEO says this was not an attack. I'm sure that was most people's questions when they woke up this morning. How did this happen, and how widespread was it?
Yeah, Savannah, and you're exactly right. That's the question that customers here at Newark have been asking me all morning. Was there an attack of some kind? Is this malicious? And that is not what we are hearing. So let me describe it in simple terms. Basically, an update was made to a product provided by a famous global cybersecurity firm called CrowdStrike. And that update triggered a failure, a bug in a suite of Microsoft products that are widely used, as you mentioned, by NBC and almost every other news outlet, by the airlines here, by hospitals, not just around the country, but around the world. Some still reporting that they can't access patient information and scheduling. Some departments saying that their 911 and emergency systems are still struggling right now. And I can tell you it's not back to normal yet here at the airport. Hundreds of people have been packed in here. They have been waiting for more information about their flights. What they tell me, Savannah, is that the kiosks aren't working, the boards are not properly updating, and they are waiting for hours for more information. And in some cases, people are giving up at this point and just leaving the airport altogether. We know that there have been about 1,000 delays and more than 1,700 delays and about 1,000 cancellations. And really everyone here, from the staff down to just the customers living through it, they expect that number is going to tick up right now, Savannah.
So, Antonia, tell us more about what you're seeing at the airport. Just how much did this impact airline companies globally? What type of havoc has been wreaked here? I mean, what do we know about numbers of cancellations or delays? And are you seeing this get back on track yet or no?
Not quite. I'll tell you, it's been a little bit of a rocky road here, and we've been here now for hours this morning. People coming in, extremely frustrated, at times emotional. I spent time with a group of women that were heading out on a bachelorette. The bride was almost in tears, completely devastated. Families with small kids. We've seen people fighting with the staff here because what they say is that the airlines have failed to send them text messages, updates in the app, because the boards aren't updating and they can't get information at the kiosks. They've ended up at the end of very long lines saying that they can't get information. At one point, a Spirit employee had to stand up on the counter and basically scream to everyone here that they needed to calm down, that the staff was doing their best, that this wasn't their fault. So that just gives you a sense of the kind of tension and really the domino effect. Take a listen to some of the conversations we've had with passengers today. How would you say people are doing emotionally as they try to deal with this?
The emotions are high. Chaos. Pure chaos. No one knew what was happening. No one was being told anything. Everyone was just really confused. And then all of a sudden we got an alert that globally everything is down. Microsoft has gone down. And still no one's really told us what that means, what that entails, where we're going forward now.
And I spoke to one passenger who said that as he got up close to the counter and finally got the chance to speak to some staff, they informed him that what they're seeing is the system actually get back online and then crash all over again on them. And that seems to fit with a lot of what we're hearing here, that technically the systems are supposed to be getting back on. Microsoft announced they've been able to resolve these issues, but those fixes haven't reached real people on the ground just trying to get where they need to go. Savannah.
Antonia, this doesn't feel like other outages we've seen in the past, I guess because of how broad the impacts are, how many industries were affected by this and how many regular people, all of us, just trying to do our jobs at work right now. And I think also when you hear that this was because of an update to a cybersecurity firm, you think, okay, those are the people who are keeping all these systems running and keeping them safe from something bad happening to them. And then yet they're saying it was an internal update that was able to wipe out so much technology here. What happens next? And just put in context how significant this is that one company was able to have such an impact globally.
You know, Savannah, I appreciate you saying that because that's exactly sort of what you see people processing in real time here in the airport. You know, when they hear from one of the staff members or they've been asking our team, well, what's going on this morning? They then kind of come to the realization, oh, one or two tech companies have this much of an impact. We don't really think about day to day how much our basic functioning depends on all of this working right. These kinds of updates happening without us, frankly, even knowing about them 99.99% of the time. And so people are in shock. And while they're grateful and they understand it's not the fault of the people here on the ground, they're incredibly frustrated. I mean, this is having impact on people's ability to get to work. I spoke to a mom saying she needs to get back to her young kids. I mean, you can just imagine the sort of domino and interpersonal effects all this is happening. And so that's why experts are saying just because of how global this is, how long this is lasting, this is going to have impacts. Even if things get back online and back to normal in the next couple hours, just when we're talking airlines, we're going to see a domino effect for days here. Already I'm hearing from people saying that they can't get on flights tomorrow. They're not sure when they're going to be able to get, say, from New York or the New Jersey area to LAX. They're hearing that their airline might not be able to get them out for a couple days. So that is the kind of extent to all this. And we're not just talking about the United States. I mean, hospitals in Europe and elsewhere saying that they can't communicate with their patients and need people to reach out to emergency services. That's the kind of level, the stakes here. And so I think people are kind of coming to terms with what that means. And certainly I think CrowdStrike and Microsoft are going to have more they need to communicate to customers about how they're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, Savannah.
Well, Antonia, as they say, don't think this was on anyone's bingo card, especially after a week like we've had. Thank you very much for jumping on this breaking story for us this morning. Well, when we all went to bed last night, it would have been hard to believe our top story this morning would not have been the wrap-up of the Republican National Convention. Let's turn there now. Last night, former President Trump formally accepted the party's nomination for a third straight time. He delivered the longest ever convention acceptance speech, addressing supporters for 93 minutes, breaking his own record that was set back in 2016. It was the first time Mr. Trump has spoken publicly since the assassination attempt against him last weekend at a rally in Pennsylvania. He did talk about what happened that day.
I was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear.
NBC's Garrett Haake joins us now with a recap of the final night of the convention. Garrett Haake, who I cannot believe's eyes are open right now. We appreciate you being with us. The former president, Garrett, spoke in great detail, of course, about what happened at that rally in Pennsylvania last Saturday. I think something we all wanted to hear from him on. What did we learn? What else did he share?
Yeah, Savannah, most of what we heard last night was pretty standard Trump rally fare, except the top where he described in great detail what happened on Saturday from his perspective. He's still been really the primary narrator of his own injuries, of his own experience, and of that moment where he turned his head ever so slightly. The other moment that he was very interested in was what happened when he got back up. And he tried to use that as a metaphor to galvanize his supporters. Listen to that portion of the speech, which was perhaps the emotional high point of his address.
But I could see it. I wanted to do something to let him know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight."
That fist pump image and the fight, fight, fight chant was kind of the emotional through line of this whole convention for Republicans, Savannah, and hearing it from the former president for the first time there was a moment that I think was emotional for at least his supporters in the crowd with whom I was standing for the duration of that speech.
So, Garrett, all week we saw instances of sort of a tonal shift at the convention, and then it would go back to kind of what we're used to hearing in some of these instances. And there had been this reporting that this speech was totally reworked, that after this happened to the former president, he threw out what he was planning to say. He wrote something new. His son said to Savannah Guthrie, "I was there when he did that. It's going to be a beautiful speech." What do you think? What do you make of what we did see? Did we see this different version? Was it a mix? And what does that mean for the campaign going forward, do you think?
I think it's a reminder that Donald Trump is not going to change. I mean, he's 78 years old. He's been doing this in politics for more than a decade, or about a decade now. And he is, at the end of the day, remarkably consistent. Now, I will say the speech as written on paper versus the speech that was delivered by Donald Trump were different speeches, right? I mean, he on paper had the opportunity to give a speech that was more unifying and that did focus more on what happened on Saturday and trying to use it as a metaphor for the country. But he went down so many tangents and sort of discursions and distractions about different topics that you really never got that clean narrative. He talked a little bit about his vision for the next 4 years, but also talked a lot about how this affects him, or how at least he thinks it should. Listen to a portion of that part of the speech.
Nothing will stop me in this mission because our vision is righteous and our cause is pure. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway.
I think that's the key thing here, Savannah. Donald Trump's version of unity in this speech is unity around him. And if you look at it through that lens, it makes sense. But beyond that, again, what you saw mostly last night was a Trump rally on decaf with a new top about what happened on Saturday.
In this picture right here, Garrett, right next to the former president, people can see his wife, former First Lady Melania Trump. This, though, was the first time that we saw her at the convention this week. I think maybe people at home are kind of wondering, like, wow, you know, this is a big moment. It's the convention. He's about to officially get that nomination, not to mention that it's right after an assassination attempt. Did the void of her throughout the week mean anything? And then how significant was it to have her there at the end of the convention, as well as, by the way, his daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared?
You know, it's funny. That image of Donald Trump surrounded by his family and his wife on stage should be one of the most normal things about a political convention. That is completely standard political fare. But as you point out, Melania Trump has been completely absent from the stage other than for a post on social media since her husband was nearly assassinated on Saturday. Frankly, she's been almost completely absent from this campaign, Savannah. She doesn't travel with him very often. She almost never appears at his rallies. She doesn't speak at any of his events. She has taken a step back. She is not known to be a particularly public person. And I think after what happened in 2020 and into now, she's been much less interested in being part of this campaign. She was greeted rapturously by this crowd. And I think for people who don't follow the campaign very closely, they probably thought this was all sort of normal and well and good. But a rare Melania Trump sighting last night.
Garrett, hey, great context. Thank you so much. And by the way, I have not been able to say to you yet, welcome back. We appreciate all your beautiful girls letting you be with us, especially during such a crazy time. Good to see you.
I'm hoping I can get home to them today. We'll see.
I hope that for you as well. And of course, the airport's had to be a mess, but we're thinking about you. Make it back. Thanks, Garrett. Well, as Republicans wrap up their convention fully unified behind their candidate, some Democrats are ratcheting up the pressure on President Biden to step down as his party's nominee. Democratic leaders have both publicly and privately discussed the president's prospects in this campaign, questioning his mental and physical health since his shaky debate performance that was over 3 weeks ago now. Mr. Biden has maintained he will remain in the race. But the president was forced to put a pause on his campaign after testing positive for COVID on Wednesday. He is now isolating in Delaware as Republican nominee Donald Trump prepares for a rally alongside running mate J.D. Vance in Michigan. For more on this, we are joined by the two Allies, NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa, as well as Ali Vitale, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent. Good morning to both of you, and thank you for being here. Ali Rafa, I will start with you. Walk us through what we are hearing from inside the Biden campaign. How is the president responding to increasing calls for him to either step down or very strongly hinting that his re-election prospects are bleak?
Yeah, Savannah, it's really hard to digest how much has changed in the 3 weeks that have passed since that now infamous debate performance by President Biden. You have this growing list of Democratic lawmakers publicly calling for him to step aside. You have donations to the Biden campaign dropping off. And now we're told from sources close to the campaign, some of the people closest to the president, that they are privately admitting there is no clear path to victory with him at the top of the ticket. A person close to the president telling NBC News, quote, "We're close to the end." Someone close to the campaign saying they're finally realizing it. It's a when, not if. So the ground has definitely shifted right now. And we're told that this is really culminating into what would be the most difficult decision of the president's decades-long political career. Remember, the president publicly has been defiant. He has emphatically and repeatedly said that he is in this race to win it. He has said that the only things that would get him to reconsider staying in this race would be the Lord Almighty or a medical condition that his doctors diagnosed him with. But sources are telling us that he's becoming more open to the idea of stepping aside. He's really thinking seriously about how his being at the top of the ticket would impact down ballot races, how it would impact his legacy. And we're told that this is really weighing on the president at this moment, that he's, quote, sad, that he is at times resentful and feels betrayed by some of his Democratic colleagues, some of them decades-long allies who have now turned on him, Savannah.
And Ali Rafa, just quickly, our viewers can see that you are joining us from Delaware. Just what do we know the latest about his condition? How are his symptoms?
Well, his doctor released a new update yesterday on his condition. He says that his symptoms continue to be mild, that he's continuing dosages of Paxlovid to help with the severity of those symptoms. But we do expect the president to continue self-isolating here at his beach house here in Rehoboth Beach with nothing, at least on his public schedule, for the rest of the day. And it's so far up until the weekend, Savannah.
Ali Vitale, let's bring you in here. So Democratic leaders, people like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, they have publicly voiced support for President Biden, though I will say in some instances we are kind of getting this reporting about either what's happening behind closed doors or they're kind of towing a line when they publicly speak, which is not full-throated support. But sources say they offered little direction to party members on what to do next. Is there a void here of leadership, of somebody kind of publicly saying the quiet thing out loud?
There are some members who I've heard from who say that there is a void, although the way that Hakeem Jeffries, for example, the top House Democrat, has always run this caucus since he's assumed the leadership mantle from former Speaker Nancy Pelosi is to really let members have space to vent their concerns, to talk about their frustrations. And certainly that's the way that he's handled this current crisis that has really just been one rolling thing after the next for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. I have to say, for Schumer, it's similar. Although senators are voicing their concerns in much more quiet fashion, the leaks have been less on that side of the building. You'll notice that up until last night, when only the second Senate Democrat came forward and said they thought that Joe Biden should no longer be the nominee, mostly we haven't heard from the senators. It's the House members who have been more vocal. And of course, we're talking about a small drop in the bucket for the hundreds of House Democrats compared to the 51 Senate Democrats. And so there is that difference. But look, there are some who say that Schumer and Jeffries could be more full-throated in their support, but there are others who say the reality of that they are balancing caucuses that have divergent opinions here on whether or not Joe Biden should continue on as the nominee. The political concerns are palpable. The personal concerns, many of them are sad about the fact that this is where things have gotten. But the reality is, as we reported yesterday, you have a president who feels betrayed, who feels angry, who feels frustrated. And then you've got lawmakers who are basically saying, we recognize that you've made the decision to stay the nominee, but that's not the decision that we feel is the best. And you're watching these behind-the-scenes machinations start to play out publicly. The thing that I started hearing in the last, 12 to 18 hours yesterday as I was reporting the latest turn of this story is that for many on the Hill, they are taking a posture that it is not a question of if Biden will drop his bid, but when. And that is a pretty seismic change.
It certainly is. And also keep in mind that these are lawmakers, of course, who in some cases are concerned about their own reelection bids and what confusion within the party generally could mean for those races further down the ticket. Ali, where are we at, though? OK, so you just said it. I mean, there's this shift to not if, but when. If he is going to step aside, where is the Democratic Party at about a plan for what's next? Obviously, there have been these conversations about Vice President Kamala Harris. There are plenty of other Democrats who would love to step in the ring. Does this turn into almost like a mini primary at this point in the game? What would happen?
This is the thing, I think, that on top of all of the anxiety of covering this story, many of the reporters have future anxiety for our future selves if we get to this point. Because as many of those lawmakers are out there on the graphic that you showed saying that Biden should step down, almost none of them are saying, and this is the person who should come next. Now, I have to say that more than ever, I have heard the name Kamala Harris and a level of comfortability with the vice president as the nominee more than I've ever heard before. You know that I closely track the role of the vice president and other prominent women in politics. Certainly, her electability is one of the key metrics that people are trying to look at. And we know, and Ali Rafa knows this too, that our NBC News team has moved reporting that the Biden campaign itself had polling or did polling around Kamala Harris's chances in a head-to-head matchup against Donald Trump. That's significant. Of course, they say the reason that they did that was not because they were preparing for that eventuality, but instead because Trump himself had seemed to turn his sights on Kamala Harris in recent days and weeks. But Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in an Instagram Live last night, even, Savannah, was saying that to her, many of the people who are pushing Biden out are not coalescing behind the scenes around Kamala Harris, that this is not going to be an easy process. And frankly, some of the more loyal Biden supporters on Capitol Hill that I've talked to have warned about this idea that although this is a chaotic period in the will he or won't he around Biden, it's not just going to end once that decision is made or once this decision is put to rest. This could be something that goes on further. And you listen to key people in the party. Some of them say it's Kamala Harris, but others of them have used that word mini primary or blitz primary, and that's going to be even more chaos.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about Kamala Harris's electability, it kind of reminds me, I read a great book about that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, that's right. You wrote it. It's called Electable, and everybody should go read it. Ali Vitale, Ali Rafa, thank you both very much. We love when you join us. Well, for more analysis and to talk about a week really that's been unlike any other, let's bring in NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd. Chuck, so happy to have you with us on a morning with so much news. Thank you for being here. I know it was a long night and now an early morning. Let's start with the turmoil the Biden campaign is facing as pressure mounts on Biden to drop out of the race. We're hearing this from prominent Democrats. We just heard from Ali. Now is it a question more of not if, but when? Since we have only heard defiance from Biden himself, from the campaign, what would it take for President Biden to step out, to make that particular decision?
I think at this point, it's presenting him with evidence that he'd actually not even get the nomination if they went through with the roll call. And that's sort of the final, that'd be the final step here. But nobody wants to humiliate the president. But it's pretty clear he's starting, this loss of support among prominent elected Democrats. Remember who delegates are. They're also they're super activists. They ran. These are elected positions in various, sometimes directly elected by voters. Some delegates are actually elected at district conventions. But why is that important? Well, you don't just show up at a meeting and run for something if you yourself aren't an active member of the party. If you yourself don't have relationships with local prominent elected Democrats. My point is that would be the final, and that would be frankly, a very humiliating moment for him if here all of these delegates that he technically won in the primaries, who are free to do this. They are not legally bound to vote for him here. I don't think they're going to get to there. I think when you look at the fundraising problems that the campaign is now fully acknowledging, coupled with the polling that has not gotten better, it's gotten worse. And if anything, the former president's really poorly received acceptance speech, where he looked a bit older than we'd seen him look in a long time, actually, I think, has suddenly sparked even more enthusiasm to change the ticket, because the only time Donald Trump doesn't look a bit old and tired is when he's standing next to Joe Biden.
That's a very good point. And I do want to ask you more about the former president's speech last night in just a moment. But for viewers who are hearing you talk about the roll call and saying, like, that might be the moment if he understands that, walk us through again sort of the mechanics of this. How does it happen that the person who, as President Biden likes to point out himself, millions of Americans voted for throughout that primary, how does that person step aside and then somebody else comes in? How is he replaced? What would happen next?
Well, look, I mean, they have a mechanism in here, and if he decides to step down, he could, obviously all of his delegates would be released, but they're technically already released. Republicans do legally bound their delegates for the first ballot. That is not the case with the Democrats. Then you would have, it all depends. If let's assume he endorses his vice president. Wouldn't mean she'd get all the delegates, but she would immediately be put up for the roll call. If somebody else wanted to get on the convention ballot, literally you got to get petition signatures, Savannah. You would have to get at least 300 delegates to nominate you. You couldn't get more than 50 from any one state. Why is that important? You couldn't get them all from California, say, or all from New York, where they have nearly that amount of delegates. And I will tell you this, I talked with somebody who's very familiar with this process, Elaine Kmark, and she said, this won't be a virtual roll call if Joe Biden's not the nominee. That would look a little too cute. That would not look very transparent. That it would probably mean they would do it at the actual convention, which, of course, starts on August 19th.
I mean, and it could be much more interesting than we've seen in quite a while if something like that happens. Chuck, okay, let's switch over to the RNC and to what we saw. First of all, thank you for talking through what sounds like the place being taken down around you right now. Let's talk about what we heard.
We'll see if we can get through the segment before it all comes down.
Yeah, before the lights are off. Former President Trump, we had heard, so there it is. We had heard so much about how he was going to throw out that speech, redo it. His son had told us that he had watched that process happen. What did we hear? Was this more reflective candidate who had just, been through an assassination attempt of all things? What were your big takeaway from his address?
Look, I was mesmerized in the first 20 minutes because he was telling us it was a gripping story. He was telling us what he felt, what he saw, and it was the first time. And so here he was, and I think he drew the audience in. I think it was one of those moments where everybody was listening. But let's be honest, he did seem low energy. Perhaps, he's still feeling the effects. It's understandably he may be on some sort of medication. Right now, we don't know for sure. They've not been very transparent about exactly the specifics of his of whatever health care he's getting for this. And then he would go off script, but he would sort of end up falling back into what he knows best. And it was a lower energy version of his rallies. And I'll tell you, you could feel the energy just flowing out of this arena. And it just, went on. And I think it's one of those where perhaps it was a crutch, right? You just sort of go back to what you know. But I know his advisors were really hoping he'd stick to the teleprompter. And he didn't. There was the stuff on the teleprompter. If he'd stuck to it and shortened his speech by 20 minutes, he might have had a very successful acceptance speech. But I think the longer he talked, the more damage he did to himself. And I really think by the end of that speech, you had a lot of Democrats who've been feeling pretty depressed about how things have gone the last 3 weeks for them, suddenly feeling as if not all hope wasn't lost.
That's a really interesting perspective. Chuck, in a new piece this morning for NBCNews.com, I have no idea when you had time to write a new piece for NBCNews.com in the midst of everything else you're doing. It's titled A Whole New Campaign. Here's the first sentence. 6 weeks ago, it seemed fairly clear the country was uninterested in the Biden-Trump rematch. Right. I don't know if this is just because this is what we do, but that's certainly not the way I think any of us feel here on both sides between what happened last weekend to the former president and what we seem to almost be holding our breath for on the Democratic side. First of all, do you think that the rest of America feels that way? Is everybody sort of reinvigorated to pay attention to understand where their vote's going to go? And where do you think this goes from here?
Well, whether it's a reinvigoration or it's a curiosity, either way, I mean, look at how people react to a car wreck, right? You always look. And so for a variety of reasons, there's suddenly a lot of unknowns in this race, right? 6 weeks ago, voters thought they knew everything they needed to know. Oh, it's a Biden-Trump rematch. I know. Maybe I'll tune in at the end. Well, suddenly it's not going to be a Biden-Trump rematch. Suddenly, what the heck just happened to Donald Trump? He had, I think, people tune in to his campaign in a way we hadn't seen before. I think what happened to him on Saturday, the assassination attempt, did serve to unify the Republican Party, which is something he had never been able to do before. Now you're going to get voters willing to at least give whoever the Democratic nominee is a second look. So what do I mean? It's a whole new campaign. Look, I think we were headed for lower turnout. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore, especially if you have a historical first-time African-American woman as the Democratic nominee for president. I think you're going to have a whole new set of voters tune into that. Suddenly, that debate between Trump and Harris will be must-see. The point is that if you start to see that, I think the third-party candidates will start to lose. You'll start to see them erode away. My point is, it's a whole new ballgame. I mean, literally, the chessboard has been upended, and we're starting from scratch.
Chuck, I feel lucky to get some of your time on a week like this. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Nice.
As former President Trump recounted his experience of Saturday's assassination attempt at the RNC, new video from behind the podium is showing the dramatic aftermath of the shooting and how Mr. Trump was rushed off stage by the Secret Service and put into a car. This all comes as investigators are continuing to search for the gunman's motive. NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian joins us. Now, Ken, let's just start right there. What is the latest in the investigation this morning?
Savannah, almost a week later, the FBI seems no closer to determining the gunman's motive in this case, having gone through his phone and his laptop and what there was of his social media, not much public social media, but all his private messages, and they're just not seeing anything, interviewing neighbors, family members. They know that he had photos of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, on his phone. They know that he Googled major depressive disorder. There are new reports this morning that they're investigating whether he pre-positioned the gun and whether there was a bulletproof vest in his car and whether he staked out the site days before the Secret Service even got there. So clearly a lot of pre-planning, but in terms of motive, they're just coming up dry. And one of the theories here, it's just a theory, is that this was simply a disgruntled young man looking to become famous or to make an impact, and really there was no political motive whatsoever. But again, they're still investigating that.
This all comes, of course, amid this criticism of the Secret Service's handling of security before, after the incident. And it just seems like it's coming to this fever pitch, right? I mean, we saw the director being heckled even at the RNC, Republican lawmakers calling on her to step down. What is the latest we are hearing from the Secret Service in terms of their response?
Yeah, that was remarkable to watch those Republican senators yelling at the Secret Service director as she was walking away without answering their questions. The Secret Service is saying that she has no plans to resign, but a lot of people are expecting that at some point that may happen. There are multiple investigations going on into what clearly was a cascade of Secret Service failures. You mentioned before the shooting, there's been a lot of exploration of what happened with why the building wasn't secure. We recently reported on the criticism of the Secret Service actions after the shooting. You mentioned that video of the Secret Service rushing Donald Trump off the stage. What our sources are telling us is they didn't rush him quickly enough, that it was actually a huge mistake that they allowed Donald Trump to delay, to say he wanted to get his shoes, and then he ordered them to pause while he pumped his fist at the crowd. Had there been a second shooter and they had no idea there wasn't one, that would have put put his life in danger, and that's not what they're trained to do. They're trained to whisk the protectee into safety, regardless of what he wants. And if he doesn't move, they're supposed to pick him up and carry him. They did not do that. And some sources are telling us it may be because Donald Trump's Secret Service detail is too deferential to him, too willing to follow his instructions. That's not how it's supposed to work. So all of this is going to be investigated by the DHS Inspector General, an independent committee appointed by President Biden and by Congress.
That's a really interesting point, because I think parts of those moments of the video where he's looking for his shoes and things like that had a lot of questions that people were wondering, why are they still standing there? So that makes a lot of sense. Ken, thank you. Of course, this also comes, by the way, there was one casualty there today. The funeral will be held for Corey Comparatori, who lost his life that day at the rally. Thank you for joining us, Ken. Let's get you to some weather now. High temps in the west this weekend could be busting thermometers. But then the Midwest and Northeast, we are actually going to finally see some relief from the heat. Let's check on your forecast with meteorologist Violetta Yaz. She joins us with the latest. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Yes, I mean, it feels lovely in the east, but conversely, those temperatures are really starting to crank up across the west here, from parts of Washington and Oregon all the way down in through California, where we have 33 million people being impacted by these heat alerts. So for today, getting up to 103 in Boise, Vegas, 112 Palm Springs, 115, putting these temperatures anywhere from 5 to nearly 10 degrees above average. So very hot for today. Meanwhile, for tomorrow, still looking pretty comfortable here across the nation's midsection, across the plains into the 70s, if not the low 80s. Meanwhile, in the east for early next week, we will start to see those temperatures climb a little bit, actually for the Midwest as well. So 83 Sunday in Chicago and staying in the low 80s. Notice in D.C., for example, we're going to be right back into the low 90s by Sunday. So humidity will increase a bit as well, but it's not something that's going to be so prolonged like this last heat wave that we saw. In terms of severe weather, no widespread risks for today, but we do have one area we're going to keep an eye out for here across the plains, down through the Dakotas, Nebraska into Kansas. We're seeing that potential for damaging winds and some localized hail as well. The tornado risk relatively low, but this is going to be that bullseye area from Valentine down through North Platte into Scott City as well later this afternoon and evening. Localized flood risk here across parts of the Carolinas down into the southeast. The radar pretty clear right now, but we will start to see these fire up again later this afternoon along this cold front. This is going to linger in through today, so showers and storms possible from Texas into the Carolinas, and we'll still see some lingering storms even as we head into tomorrow to kick off the weekend. Savannah, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Good to hear some relief. Well, clearly we are off and running on a busy Friday morning. Coming up after the break, we will get you an update on that massive IT outage that's hit airports, businesses, broadcasters all over the world. The very latest on that story and more up next. We are staying on top of breaking news this morning. A massive computer outage is creating chaos across the globe, from airlines to banks to businesses. Millions have been impacted by this outage, caused when something went wrong with a software update from a company called CrowdStrike. That's one of the world's largest cybersecurity providers. NBC News International correspondent Megan Fitzgerald joins us from London with how this is being felt across the globe. This is a worldwide story, Megan, which is really kind of incredible if you think about it, that a bug in an update from one company can cause such impacts around the world. But tell us what we are seeing globally.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the chaos is far and wide. As you mentioned, this is a glitch that's impacting everything from the healthcare industry, businesses, banks, our industry of broadcast journalism, and especially airports. I mean, it's a mess. Most major airlines had to ground aircrafts at departure terminals, but are slowly starting to resume flights. But the ripple effect and the disruption to travelers is expected to continue throughout the day. So we're talking about a widespread problem across the world, from here in London to New Delhi, to Istanbul, Australia. Banks and the financial companies, they're also feeling the impact of this around the world. They're having their issues. You've got the London Stock Exchange, for example, reporting that they're having technical issues with data and news platforms. Germany's finance giant Allianz said it was experiencing a major outage where employees are not able to log on to the computers. So it's likely that folks around the world will be dealing with the backlash of this for hours, Savannah.
This has come at the start, of course, also, I mean, summer travel weekend, every weekend, especially here in the U.S. I mean, we keep on hearing from the TSA, we broke the record. We screened over 3 million people this weekend. Obviously, that's what people are doing all around the globe during summer. What's happening with airlines and in airports right now? Are they giving any guidance on how this will shape up throughout the day?
You know, it's a great question. So what we know is that American Airlines has made a statement earlier this morning saying that they've been able to safely reestablish their operations. That was as of 5 a.m. Eastern time. But here's the thing. There's no word on how long it will take for the fallout to this issue to be rectified. I mean, Dutch airline KLM has made a statement also saying that the global computer outage is making flight handling impossible. So while the industry works to try and get things back on track, again, the effect on passengers stuck in the middle of it all is likely to continue for hours as we just continue to see these lines at the airport grow. Savannah
Fitzgerald, thank you very much. Coming up, caught on camera, terrifying new video showing the moment a crane collapsed. What investigators are now saying about the accident, coming up next. We are back now with a shocking moment caught on camera. In this newly released video from the Fort Lauderdale police, you can see the horrifying moments when parts of a crane came crashing down onto a bridge in April. Reporter Steve Litz from our NBC affiliate station in Miami has the details.
Video from the bridge tender house with an up-close look at a chunk of a crane falling on two vehicles in downtown Fort Lauderdale. A dashboard camera from farther away with another angle. The moments after were intense.
Go over there, away from the crane.
It's already fallen.
It could keep falling. Walk over there.
Hey. That thing almost fell on me, okay?
Police body-worn camera captured first responders interacting with victims.
Come on, okay. We need you to get moving. This crane might collapse.
My mind is pretty messed up.
Okay.
But if I could have my phone.
The incident happened April 4th at a residential tower under construction right next to the New River. A chunk of the crane and construction materials broke off, falling onto the 3rd Avenue Bridge. Workers told police the segment of the crane fell from the very top of the structure.
Something snapped that made that thing fall.
Okay.
Because that thing was already in place.
Okay.
So something snapped.
So there's nothing that hit it or caused it to fail?
No.
Worker Jorge de la Torre fell to his death. Gemelin Castillo was badly injured. And this was her right after it happened. She was in the back seat of a ride share, a Tesla, when the chunk of crane fell on the car. She's filed suit against the crane company, the general contractor, and others. Her attorney has seen the video.
When these types of things happen, as a community, we have to look and say, what are we doing to make sure it doesn't happen again? Because right now, I haven't heard anything about any criminal charges. And where's the accountability?
Our thanks to Steve Litz for that report. The Fort Lauderdale police have, in fact, wrapped their investigation. And as you just heard there, they say they found nothing criminal. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration is still investigating. We have a lot more to get to this morning on Morning News Now. We will be right back after a quick break. Welcome back. This morning, we are following the major global cyber outage that's causing headaches for millions of people around the world. This all stems from a software update at cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Well, that update impacted the Microsoft Windows program. The CEO of CrowdStrike says this was not a cyber attack. Oh, I'm sure that's what we were all wondering this morning. Microsoft confirms that the underlying issue has been resolved. But the effects are still being felt by businesses really in every corner of the world. Hundreds of flights have been grounded. There have been more than 500 delays here in the U.S. alone. Organizations like the London Stock Exchange, even the Paris Olympic Organizing Committee have all commented on this morning. News organizations, you're looking at a picture right here in our newsroom. We have had a tough time working through the difficulties. We've had disruptions and technical issues all morning here at NBC News, though we are still, of course, bringing you this story. We are constantly learning more, and we will keep you updated. And right now, we're going to dig in on the travel impacts of this. We have expert Mark Elwood here. I'm supposed to be on a flight tonight for a shoot, and then I'm supposed to be on a flight to Paris on Sunday night for the Olympics.
Yep.
Where are we at right now this morning?
So where we're at, I mean, we heard earlier from one of your correspondents, the airlines are getting back on track. What I would remember is most of them have issued what's called a waiver, and that means that if you don't have to travel today, they won't charge you to change your flight. And that's the smartest thing to do. If you could nudge it on till tomorrow or Sunday, I would do that. If you do have to travel today, get to the airport much earlier than you think or earlier than you typically would, because it's going to be slower going. And you've got Twitter or X right at your fingertips. That's the way to really get good customer service at the moment, because the airlines want to show they're helping you. Social media like that, they're allowed to say, we're very glad we could help. tweet at them, post them there and ask them questions. You're still not convinced, are you?
No, you're just encouraging some interesting behavior. I just can't wait to go see Twitter feeds today.
Tweet nicely, tweet nicely, tweet nicely.
There you go. No bad behavior. Though these instances often bring out the worst of us when we are at an airline counter and a terminal. Mark, for people who are, it's obviously very early in the day, so for people who are just waking up and they're supposed to be headed to the airport for a flight today, what would you recommend they do?
You have to proceed as normal. Do not unilaterally decide, gosh, I bet they will cancel my flight. Get there a little bit earlier. Keep monitoring updates on the app. Look for apps like FlightAware and Flighty. Those are non-airline apps that often give you information quicker than the airlines do because they don't need to manage how you react. But keep checking that. Get to the airport. Be prepared for longer waits. And remember, the airlines, they will typically try and prioritize longer haul routes, bigger planes, so it tends to cascade down that the flights from LA to Seoul will probably start going much faster than the flights from LA to San Francisco.
Oh, very interesting. If your flight has been canceled, what should you know about what the airline is supposed to do for you?
If your flight is cancelled, you're entitled to a refund. There are lots of complicated regulations around whether compensation kicks in because the definition of right to compensation is very nebulous. So we have to wait and see how this is defined to see if you actually get extra money. But if your flight is cancelled, you will be entitled to a full refund. Or you can ask for them to rebook you on another day, perhaps on another airline. There's an agreement called interlining, which is when you can be pushed onto a different airline at no cost. But of course, at the moment, all the airlines are suffering problems, so that's not necessarily that helpful.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. Honestly, no.
Isn't it kind of amazing that one company's update could lead to global groundings of flights?
I mean, it feels very much like after 9/11 when the skies were empty. It feels like that, where it's unbelievable to imagine that every airport in the world is at a standstill. But again, they are working very fast to get it moving. And airline disruptions show up very quickly because there's not much slack in the system. But they also fix it very quickly. And I think by this afternoon, there will still be some roll-on problems. But they want to get people moving.
Mark, by the way, everybody, a true expert, because he was supposed to be here to talk about, like, how do you pick where you're going to go on vacation this summer if you can't decide with your friends? So we appreciate you covering this major breaking story for us this morning and a big question everybody has if they're heading to the airport today. What should I do? We so appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Always good to see you, Mark Elwood. Coming up, it's Friday. That means it is time. Let's take a little break. All the latest and greatest in entertainment, from Titanic tornadoes to the return of the GOAT herself, Simone Biles. We are going to tell you all the content that you just can't miss. It's Friday. We need it. Coming up next. Finally this hour. I don't know. First, I'm feeling like we all need a deep breath together. It's Friday, which means it's time for our weekly can't miss list. A look at all the movies, music, and shows that you just got to see this weekend. Thank God. Our friend Darren Karp is here. I don't know why I'm feeling like I'm putting a lot of pressure on you, but you're just going to you're going to save us all. You're going to turn the mood around.
I'm here to talk about the Microsoft outage.
Oh my God, that's funny. And I would actually really love to actually, you did
I'm pivoting.
Your experience this morning. You can do it all, girl. You got range.
That's right.
Okay, Darren. What should we watch this weekend? I know that there's so much coming out. Twisters is a big one. Oh my gosh, we've seen Glenn Powell. We've seen everybody out doing press on this. I can't wait to see it. What should we know?
Yeah, Daisy Edgar-Jones is in this one. If you saw the 1996 original version, of course, with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, one of my favorite movies about storm chasers, twister chasers, amazing CGI for 1996. I'm hoping this one proves to actually be great. This is projected to get $55 million this weekend, which will be really good. It cost $155 million to make, so I think they're going to have to keep ramping it up, but the press has been kind of insane for it.
Right.
It's not being touted as like a remake or really a sequel. It's just kind of like an adapted version of the 1996 movie. So I'm thinking if you like the 1996 Twister movie, you're going to like this, and the CGI is going to be incredible. It takes place in Oklahoma. As if the world isn't falling apart already, this is the movie you want to see this weekend.
It's like, I don't know if we can handle natural disaster
Actual
realism.
destruction?
Yeah, I think that's maybe a no for me, except for such a Glenn Powell stand, so that could take me there.
Fair enough.
Okay, Simone Biles. Okay, I'm so excited about this, and there's only a couple episodes out now, right? So this is a Netflix show all about Simone Biles, obviously heading into the Olympics.
Yes, Simone Biles Rising is out on Netflix. It is a 4-part documentary, but only the first 2 parts are out now, and that's because it's actually following her in the Paris Olympics that's coming up in next weekend. So it's actually kind of live to tape almost as it's happening. So you can be a part of it too, Savannah, when it comes out in Netflix. But yeah, the first 2 parts, You know, she dropped out of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. You know, this is the GOAT. This is the greatest gymnast to have ever lived. So when she dropped out of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, she started an entire conversation about mental health. And everyone thought, wow, what a way to end. She's coming back with a vengeance for Paris. I'm so excited to see it. But this doc also tracks her personal life. You know, these heroes, these athletes, we kind of view them as machines when they malfunction. It's sort of like a break to our heart. And so this really brings the humanity to these gymnasts, to these Olympians, to these national heroes that we all love. It's a really, really good documentary.
So much you could say about that. The pressure that we put on them.
I can't even imagine, especially for her, because anything less than the best, everyone's just going to judge her.
Right.
You know?
And now we're all so excited to watch her in Paris, which I hope she feels us all rooting her on. But yeah, no pressure, no matter how
just
it goes.
4 years older, you know, so that's even more pressure.
Right. Oh my gosh, which is a whole other incredible thing in that particular sport. We only have like a minute. Let's talk Natalie Portman, this new drama.
Yes.
What do you think? Should I watch this? Lady in the Lake.
Absolutely. This comes highly recommended. Lady in the Lake. This is actually adopted from a novel by Laura Lippman. This is a 7-episode series. Really dark. It's about a Jewish 1960s housewife, right up your alley, Savannah. And she turns investigator, and she just sort of investigates this murder of this black woman. Was found in a lake, and it kind of unfolds there. So it's a little true crime, little mystery. Love Natalie Portman. It's very macabre. Highly recommend. 7-part series on Apple TV.
Just because Joe's not here doesn't mean you should turn your little digs.
I got to get someone. So if it's not Joe, it's got to be you. I'm so sorry.
20 seconds. Tell us about Donald Glover, new album.
Yes. So Childish Gambino, Donald Glover is coming out with Bando Stone in the New World. This is his last potentially album of Childish Gambino. He's sort of been teasing that he's going to get rid of this moniker since 2017, but he seems very serious about it this time because he kind of seems over it. This is the soundtrack to the movie that's also going to come out by the same name, Bando Stone in the New World. Not sure when that's going to come out, but it's a little sci-fi thriller, a little Walking Dead meets A Quiet Place. So a little scary, but he's going on tour in August, and the album I really love. He came out with his single July 2nd.
Yeah. Darren Karp, we needed that. Thank you. Yes. Love when you're here.
And
Great
the
to see
outage.
you. That is going to do it for this busy hour of morning news now, but it continues. Stay with us right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.